I'm so glad that the people who represent the audience and are interested in freedom, liberty, and the future are acting with such great decorum and dignity today. Thank you so much for doing that. I want to welcome to the podium a man who's been working very hard to promote freedom in the state legislature, Senator Russ Fulcher. Please come up.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I appreciate you being here. You know, folks, in a given year, we will deal with somewhere around 1,000 different pieces of legislation. And I have to tell you, it covers all the spectrum of everything. It covers schools and health and welfare and corrections and the social issues and everything. And you know what? I have to tell you that many times when we go through that in detail, sometimes we just don't know the ramifications of, or at least all of them, that we put in place. But let me tell you what we do know. We do know that when we increase the tax burden on people, and we reduce personal incentive, and we hinder economic growth, and that's been proven year after year after year throughout the history of this nation. And you know, the most of the time when we get visitors that come to visit us, they typically want something. They want a program, or they want some kind of support. I understand, and sometimes that's justified. But I want to thank you for being here, for just standing for something that we don't want. In this case, it's just increased tax burden. You see, the answer to our economic conundrum is the free market, it's incentive, it's self-sufficiency, it's innovation, it's not adding tax burdens. And so to that end, those are the things that I attempt to stand for, and I believe most of you agree with that, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and say a few words to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Fulcher. Now, I've been very excited about this for some time. We are working diligently to fight tax increases, all tax increases during this legislative session. Now, there are some people out there who think you can pass a tax increase like on smokers, and that would be okay because, after all, it's a victimless crime, right? They're just addicted to their cigarettes. That's wrong. No tax increase is appropriate. The cigarette tax or any other tax, that's just as bad as raising the sales tax or the income tax. You're just hurting people, and you're doing so because you feel like you can get away with it, and that's too bad. There's a fellow who's been fighting tax increases and fighting big government for many years. In fact, was a good friend of Ronald Reagan's. And I'm very pleased and honored to welcome here today the President of Americans for Tax Reform, Mr. Grover Norquist.
I am delighted to be here. I run Americans for Tax Reform. We ask all candidates for office to make a simple pledge to their constituents, and that is that they will vote against and oppose all efforts to raise taxes. Today, we have about 237 congressmen who've taken the pledge. Both of the congressmen from Idaho have taken that pledge and kept it. Both of the senators from Idaho have taken that pledge and kept it. About 1,200 state legislators. I would urge you, when you talk to state legislators, ask if they've taken the pledge, if they've written the commitment that they will not raise taxes. Because what that means is, if you're not going to raise taxes, it means you are beginning to focus on reforming government and spending less. Taxes are what politicians do if they're not willing to reform government, if they're not willing to make decisions and set priorities. We are here on an anniversary. 2 years ago, they passed the stimulus spending bill in Washington, D.C. This is the bill that was going to create 3.5 million jobs and cost 2.5 million jobs for Americans. The theory was the government is going to take $800 billion from people who earned it, either borrowing or in taxes. And they're going to give it to friends of the politicians, and that this is going to create jobs. That's the theory. It's called Keynesian economics. They're people who go to university, and they come up with this theory. Now, to visualize it, imagine on one side of a lake, we have Obama Reid, and Pelosi. And they stand on one side of the lake and each takes a bucket, and they dip down into the lake and they get 3 buckets of water. They walk all the way around the lake to the other side, and in front of the MSNBC cameras, they pour the 3 buckets of water back into the lake. And they announce, breathlessly, that they are stimulating the lake to great depths. You laugh, but that is the theory of Keynesian economics. That is the theory that says the government can take a dollar from you and spend it, and we're all richer. Jobs are created. There is more money at the end of that process. Now, you may laugh and say, I don't see how taking 3 buckets of water out of one side of the lake and pouring them in the other side of the lake makes the lake deeper. But they plan to do that 800 billion times. That will stimulate the lake to great depths. We laugh now, but that was the theory on which they took and wasted $800 billion adding to the debt that this country has, that we and our children and our children's children will be paying for. Now, of course, the economy got worse, not better, as a result of this, because what does this do? This says to everybody foolish enough to get a job at work, the government may come by and take your money. So all this working on Saturday thing, not necessarily as good an idea as you might have thought it was. And so that sends an unhappy message to people who would otherwise be working, saving, and investing more.